We're in an inflationary environment, and what is one of the best hedges against inflation of all time? Real estate! Real estate is like gold, man. Real estate is an unbelievably good hedge against inflation. No, it's not. That is completely untrue. If you were living in the 70s and the 80s and 90s, it was an awesome hedge against inflation. It ain't the 70s, 80s, and 90s anymore, okay? And so it's time to go beyond the headlines and go beyond the little sayings and cliches that people tell you, because it is not a great hedge against inflation, and I'll show you why. Go to the slide there. This is a graph of real estate compared to inflation from 1955 all the way to 1995. 40 years of inflation compared to real estate prices. They moved almost in tandem, didn't they? Why? Because back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, what did people see a house as? A house. They saw it as a place to live, as a place to raise their kids, as a place to, make memories. They didn't see it as an investment. Were there people investing? Of course. Were there, people building Empire State Buildings? Of course. Were there people that owned rental properties? Of course. But was it as mainstream? Was there a bunch of people sitting here in the Marcus Point, Baptist Church learning about how to do it? Absolutely not. Some of you guys think that RIA has been around forever. Some of you guys know Real Estate Investors Association. This is not an official RIA, but real estate clubs like this where people got around and learned how to invest in real estate, RIA wasn't even founded until 1985. Right? They didn't even start getting traction until the 90s, right? That's when you had your Carlton Sheets and, all this stuff starting to go on, and it started to become mainstream where your mom and pop investors and people like all of us were and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying it started to change the mentality about real estate from just a place to live to be a great investment, okay? Go to the next slide. And I'm afraid to admit that I actually was part of this, but the investor craze has driven a lot of this, okay? And so in the late 90s, again, this whole idea of real estate as an investment, as fixing and flipping, that entire thing, which, again, I want you doing it. I'm a big believer in all of us being active investors, taking control of our own destiny, flipping houses, making money, taking advantage of opportunities. But what we teach here, again, is finding off-market properties below value, finding good deals, insulating yourself from market corrections by buying right, doing the right things, not overpaying. All of those types of things protect you. But there's a lot of people this house, where am I going? And watch HGTV and read the Dean Graziosi books and so excited that they go out and overpay. And then it drives speculation. And like I said earlier, speculation creates volatility, right? And so there's a lot of people going out buying houses now. Oh, it's a junker, so I can fix it up and resell it and make a bunch of money because even if I overpay now, the market's going up 20%. There's a lot of people making these decisions the same way they did in 05 and 06 and 07. Everybody's going to become a real estate millionaire. And what that does is drives more and more speculation, more and more speculation, more and more speculation. Okay? Now let me show you another graph. It'll open your eyes just a little bit. Show them the next slide. That is a graph of real estate as compared to inflation since the year 2000, okay? It is not a hedge against inflation. It was, it's not anymore. You look in the year 1997, 98, again, as HGTV and Flip This House, and of course there were a lot of things. Alan Greenspan was very accommodative with his policy. He kept interest rates low. There was a lot of government subsidies that helped people buy real estate, and so there was just a lot of opportunity out there for people to buy real estate, and you'll see a complete divergence in about 2000 of real estate from inflation. In fact, inflation went way up in 2008 as real estate was cratering. And just a couple years later, as real estate was coming back up, inflation was diving back down. In fact, you ready, Betsy? The difference right there in 2020 and 2021, the difference between inflation and the increased value of real estate prices is the greatest gap since 2008. Strike three.